Servius Sulpicius Galba presents a strange historical puzzle. The man who built a legendary reputation as Rome's most ruthlessly disciplined military commander eventually became its most disastrously out-of-touch emperor, losing the throne in just 7 months. By the time he seized absolute power in 68 AD, Galba was 72 years old and physically deteriorating. He was completely bald. His hands and feet were so crippled by gout he could not wear shoes or hold a scroll, and he required a medical truss to support a massive, fleshy growth hanging from his right side. Yet Roman elites had expected him to rule for decades, largely due to a series of bizarre childhood prophecies. When Galba was a boy, Emperor Augustus pinched his cheek and declared he would one day taste power. Later, an eagle snatched the intestines from a sacrifice his grandfather was holding, dropping them onto an oak tree. His grandfather laughed off the omen, joking that Galba would become emperor when a mule foals. The Roman public remembered these omens. They expected the gods to deliver a vibrant, glorious leader. Instead, they received a broken, ailing man whose political instincts had entirely decayed. Decades earlier, this was a man who commanded awe. During an inspection by the erratic Emperor Caligula, Galba proved the readiness of his troops in Upper Germany by running 20 miles in full armor, carrying a shield, right alongside the emperor's chariot. He was obsessed with extreme discipline. During his time overseeing the Floral Games, he introduced the spectacle of tightrope walking elephants. In the military camps, he strictly forbade soldiers from asking for leave, and subjected veterans and raw recruits alike to grueling physical maneuvers. As governor of Spain for 8 years, his justice was terrifyingly exact. When he caught a money changer committing fraud, Galba ordered the man's hands severed and nailed to his own counter. When a guardian poisoned his ward to steal an inheritance, Galba ordered him crucified. The murderer pleaded for mercy, protesting that he was a Roman citizen and exempt from such a degrading death. Galba agreed to honor his citizenship by having him nailed to an extra-tall cross painted bright white. Unyielding brutality builds highly effective generals, but in Rome, a ruler who cannot bend breaks. In 68 AD, the governor of Gaul, Julius Vindex, revolted against the tyrannical emperor Nero. Galba hesitated to join the rebellion until he intercepted a secret dispatch. Nero had ordered Galba's own assassination. At that exact moment of crisis, a mule on Galba's estate actually gave birth. Remembering his grandfather's joke, Galba interpreted the impossible event as divine permission. He threw his support behind the rebellion, shrewdly refusing the title of emperor and instead declaring himself the general of the Senate. Following Nero's suicide, Galba began a bloody march to Rome. When unarmed Marines met him at the Milvian Bridge to demand standard military rights, Galba did not negotiate. He ordered his cavalry to charge, massacring thousands of them, and decimated the survivors. By the time he stepped into the imperial palace, the decisive military commander had vanished. Galba was overwhelmed, exhausted, and completely out of his depth in the capital. He handed the daily operations of the empire to 3 advisors, Vinius, the Praetorian prefect Laco, and his freedman Icelus. The Roman public called them his tutors. They controlled access to the emperor, selling legal pardons and siphoning state revenues, while Galba isolated himself. Inheriting a treasury bankrupted by Nero, Galba imposed severe austerity. He made his most lethal error by refusing to pay the Praetorian Guard the massive bounty they were promised for abandoning Nero. Galba stubbornly declared, "I choose my soldiers, I do not buy them." The military backlash was immediate. On January 1st, 69 AD, the legions of Upper Germany refused to swear loyalty to him. Panicking, Galba realized he needed to adopt an heir immediately to project stability and secure his dying dynasty. His loyal supporter, Marcus Salvius Otho, fully expected to be chosen. Instead, Galba passed him over for a severe aristocratic young man named Piso. Humiliated and heavily in debt, Otho slipped away and bought the allegiance of the angry, unpaid Praetorian Guard. Galba misunderstood the basic currency of Roman power.
He operated as if past discipline commanded present loyalty, ignoring that imperial survival required cold, hard cash. The morning of January 15th began with gruesome omens. As Galba traveled through the city, a sacrificed ox broke free from its ropes, reared up, and splashed thick blood across the emperor's chariot. Later, as Galba offered sacrifices at the temple of Apollo, a priest examined the entrails and explicitly warned the emperor that the signs pointed to treason and that a killer was lurking nearby. Otho was standing right behind him. During the ceremony, a freedman approached Otho and whispered a prearranged code phrase, "The architects are waiting." Otho excused himself, claiming he needed to inspect an old house he was buying, and vanished into the shadows to meet his soldiers. Galba trusted his divine mandate so completely that he ignored the earthly conspiracy mobilizing just a few streets away. Hearing false reports that the mutiny had been crushed, Galba strapped on a linen breastplate, remarking that it would do little against so many swords, and ordered his guards to carry him into the Roman Forum. He stepped directly into a trap. Otho's heavy cavalry charged into the square. The civilian crowd scattered in terror. Galba's panicked standard-bearers dropped his litter near the Lacus Curtius, sending the frail emperor tumbling onto the cobblestones. Out of his entire guard, only a single centurion, Sempronius Densus, drew his dagger and fought to the death to protect him. Realizing it was over, Galba stared up at his assassins, bared his neck, and ordered them to strike. He was decapitated on the spot. Because Galba was completely bald, there was no hair to grab. The assassin had to thrust his thumb directly into the dead emperor's mouth just to lift the head. The head was paraded through Rome on a spear.
It was eventually purchased for 100 gold pieces by a freed slave, who took it and hurled it onto the exact patch of dirt where Galba had previously executed his former master.